You should make it go. We're live in 3, 2.
Yeah, I'm gonna have somebody come and snap one of those things. So we are here with our Man-to-Man Mondays. Our person this week, our guest, is Matt Russell. Matt, if I was gonna sum him up, so a good way to describe Matt is kind of a gruff exterior sometimes, or a tough exterior, but soft and warm or chewy on the inside, right? He's got a heart of gold, 100%. Know that about him, and he'd do anything for anybody. So grateful that I've been able to know him and his family, his kids, his wife. Ogden's the best place we could hope to be because of people like Matt. So that said, and he's a phenomenal basketball player, great basketball coach. But one thing we were talking about for a second before was being vulnerable, and that vulnerability can be a strength.
I felt guilty. I think I was guilty when both my mom and my dad passed away of feeling vulnerable and having grief, because everybody knows somebody, right, that has lost a parent, lost both their parents, lost a child. And I thought I shouldn't be this way. I don't deserve to be this. And that is wrong. That's just flawed thinking. I just feel like, it's hard.
Yeah.
It's
So like
hard
we all
to-
have you're saying we should all feel like we have the right to, to feel bad, to feel sad over some things, and
Yeah.
be open to it, and not build up walls.
Yes, and
hold it away.
And I think we, especially as guys, put a time, like a deadline, right? Everything, we've got it. We can only grieve. Okay, my mom's been gone since February. I still cry every day.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's good.
Yeah.
And it's all good. It's all good. All my memories of my mom are phenomenal, and they're funny, but every day I feel bad. But then I'm like, why? You shouldn't, right?
Yeah.
You shouldn't feel bad. It's been 6 months or 7 months or
We grew up in the same time. It was always like you're supposed to just move forward.
Yeah.
Oh, it's over now. Move on.
Yeah.
And I've said it a few times. This rub some dirt on it. Get back in there.
Yeah.
Sports analogy. I tell
And
you.
then, yeah.
And you build up these walls that you're supposed to, and you're not supposed to keep feeling bad or worried about this.
Yeah.
You got to just, and like I've never heard it put that way, but like that's a good one. A timeline. It's like we think, okay, well I can't keep being bothered or sad or worry about this anymore because it's time to move on. I got things to do. The world doesn't stop. People move on.
And I feel guilt. I feel guilty a little bit, and I don't mean to feel sorry for myself. And I typically don't. I don't want people to like, oh, poor Matt, but it's okay to feel crummy. And it's okay to cry while you drive, or cry in the shower, or cry when I walk my dogs. It's some of my greatest time alone is spent just walking and thinking of people I love that have passed, and but you do. I find myself feeling guilty for that, because other people, right? They move on from. I mean, the day I remember the day that my mom passed away, and it took a minute for the mortuary to come out, and we just had her laying on the couch, and I haven't shared that a lot with people, and as I'm sitting there with my mom. And I can see people going by, and the phone is ringing, and I just thought, man, we don't know what's going on in other people's lives. Our neighbors, our other members of our family. And right then, I realized it is so important to be mindful of people, and So there was a lesson in that.
That was a big thing in my brother-in-law, Sean, realizing, then a guy that you look at and he seemed to have it all, right?
Absolutely.
But he was going through something, and I look back on my life, I've probably been pretty dismissive of people like that. Oh, come on, get over it.
Yeah.
But now and same thing, it's been a good lesson for me, all the stuff that's happened in my life, my family, last 2 or 3 years, and have losing, 3 family members, 4 actually, in a probably a 4-year period or 3-year period, and 3 of them close together, is that the person across the street that you think's got it all figured out has got something going on in their life. It's tough that they're dealing with, just like you were saying. And I feel like I try to be more mindful of that than I ever used to. In talking about the grief, like you talked about your mom a little bit, and what have you learned from? It's been probably a rough last couple years through going through these things with your mom and your dad.
Yeah.
What kind of thoughts, feelings do you have, or have you learned through going through that?
I have learned that it's never going away, and no matter what you do or try and fill that void, it can never be filled. And it's and that part of it I actually somewhat am grateful for, because that is just that just shows how much they meant to me. That there's nothing I can do in this life that can ever fill that. And so that is that's for me has been healing in itself, is just accepting the love that I had for him. And at the end of the day, that's enough. And you feel anger, or you feel guilt, for some things. Did I not get over to see my mom quick enough? Could I have helped with something? I don't know, but it's it just, people that have grieved, who have lost, always love the hardest also. Like they know what love is. For that, I am grateful that I feel that as crummy as it can be some days, and other days it's fine, and then it's a roller coaster. I'm up and I'm down, and but since especially my dad, it's been almost 4 years in November, and there's been not a day go by where somebody that I've run across or have come into our shop has said something about my dad or my mom, and I'm so grateful for that. That has been like healing for me, because of the legacy that they both led, and we're not afraid to share it with their boys, and I'm so grateful for that. That's been hard for me, and I've stood at our printing shop multiple times and cried with a perfect stranger that knew my dad, or played basketball for my dad, or knew my mom, and they sit and they look at me and they cry with me, and they don't walk out and go, "Gosh, what a weirdo," But that's what I think. I'm thinking, "Gosh, I'm so weird when I do that."
Why did I let myself? Yeah.
Yeah. Why am I crying?
See, that's a good lesson right there, because part of this is about, I know how you are, and we've talked about it, and me too, and my wife will say this. Like, I'll talk to people and joke around, but I usually have never been. I don't want to share my innermost thoughts and feelings with people and then break down and cry in front of them. Never wanted to be like that, right? But what I'm realizing, the older you get, right, the older we get, is especially for men, because that was like, you don't do that. The more we do it, the more it. I mean, I've had so many people just from being on here, listening to awesome, guys tell us their thoughts and feelings, text me, come up to me, reach out and say, "Oh my gosh, thanks for doing that." Like, just that we're even having a conversation.
Sure.
So that people like we said, the vulnerability can be strength. So, because there's one guy, or a couple people that I know right now that were struggling and maybe were in some bad situations or positions, and hopefully that helped. Early when you first got here, you had mentioned something I wanted to have you speak on about your wife Jamie and how she's been through some of the things that you guys have gone through with your losing some family.
Yeah, Jamie has been, well, first off, my wife, like literally, and my mom had cancer, and since 2016, and of course, when my dad was around, my dad took care of her appointments and her, got her to where she needed to go, right? Mm-hmm. And gosh, when my dad passed away, my mom was in her second round of chemo, and I remember my mom coming to our house and just the helplessness that she felt when my dad died. And
it was during COVID, so
it was during the
pandemic.
Yeah, it was already so kind of scary, and Jamie, I mean, didn't, like, my mom didn't ask for my wife to take her.
Yeah, to help her out and take care of her.
Yeah,
where she needed to be.
My wife just did that. She took her to all of her appointments, every doctor's, and the great thing about Jamie is she knew where I was in my grief and how I was feeling. That I never, she would always give me what I needed. Just if it was a hug, if it was, if she knew she needed to just take a step back, she just knew that. She just was so understood, and that I was so grateful for. Even now, like she is just really has been awesome, and understanding what I needed.
Yeah. And where you're at.
Yeah, it has everything to do with being selfless, right?
Oh, yeah.
Me, on the other hand, I'm a very selfish person, and complain a lot, but my wife is not that way.
Well, I know your wife, and she is awesome. So, and I know you. So clearly, the best thing about you is probably your wife, then, right? I'm just kidding.
No.
You're
right on.
But everything, we're grateful for Matt. I know this isn't anything he wanted to do, so we're grateful that he would share part of his life with us, and hopefully it can, help somebody else. And just a reminder that to be vulnerability is a strength, not a weakness. And we will see you on the next Man-to-Man Mondays. Your now son-in-law.
My now son-in-law. Before he was even engaged to my daughter Meg, and I told him, I said, look, since my kids have been, when they were born, when they were babies, I came to grips with being okay going to prison if anybody hurt my kids. And I told Ethan, I said, if you let anything happen to my daughter, I will murder you, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay spending the rest of my life in prison if you let anything happen. My Instagram is like BYU, and then because of like what I look at, it's all grief stuff.
Yeah, and it's funny how
and it
seriously comes that way, huh?
It is, yeah. Or dogs.
Yeah.
Like I follow a lot of people with dogs.
Yeah.
And I just seriously, and I cry for all of them: BYU, dogs, and grief.
Yeah, some grief over BYU, that's for sure.